two teams that have shown signs of improvement of late lock horns at the London Stadium on Wednesday night as West Ham welcome Liverpool to the London Stadium. West Ham eased our relegation fears after picking up 7 points from the last 9 on offer. More recently, smashing Bournemouth at their own on their own turf on Sunday. There's much more of a positive vibe around Ham just now, in contrast to recent weeks, and we'll be keen to keep that feel-good factor flowing when we take on Liverpool, who travel to the London Stadium on Wednesday evening. Now, Liverpool have made it 2 wins from 2 after overcoming relegation threat in Nottingham Forest, which did West Ham a big favour in an action-packed 3-2 thriller at Anfield on Saturday. And Jurgen Klopp's 7th placed team remain in pursuit of European football next season, although they do remain 9 points off of top 4 berth. Anyway, I'm not here to talk to you about Liverpool because that would be ridiculous. Let me bring on a good friend of the channel, Jack. You will recognise him. Obviously, he's a regular on the channel. Jack, how you doing, my friend? You well?
I'd say I'm well, but both of our teams have been playing absolutely just a tad little bit rubbish this season, mate. But thank you for having me on, mate. And Irons, as I was saying to Anton before we come on here, good luck in Europe as well. I'll be keeping an eye out, hoping you do well. Should win that competition.
Well, touch wood. I mean, listen, everything. We always, as West Ham fans, we always talk about things on paper, but that never actually turns out to be anything really. But it's a big achievement to go back-to-back semi-finals in Europe, which is huge. People will discredit the Conference Cup. I did discredit it last year, if I'm being brutally honest, but I think when we got down to the semi-finals and then we seen Roma go on and win it and how important it became, that cemented where the competition is in my eyes.
Still Europe, mate, for me.
Yeah. It's not like the Intertoto Cup, which we did win once upon a time, many moons ago. So we'll take it, mate. We will take it because we've not won anything for such a long time. Anyway, we are here to talk about Liverpool and West Ham as well, but mate, what a contrast probably to the time we had you on last on the channel. I mean, what's been going on with Liverpool? I mean, we just before you came on, you said that it's the first time you've went back to back, which I mentioned.
Feels like a while that we've done that. It's madness, mate. I don't know how I'll ask you a quick, mate, or anyone listening, how you have felt as neutrals watching Liverpool. It's any Liverpool fan that says go into this season that they seen the expected drop-off would have been living on cloud cuckoo land anyway. Because it would have been four competitions last season, going for everything, ran out of steam. A lot of people have mentioned in the past, especially when you've analysed Liverpool, of course, first and foremost, the quality in the midfield, mate. You use with Paqueta, Declan Rice, and obviously the famous Mark Noble, the legend that he is. The midfielders at your club, it's the most important pitch area of the football field, mate. And by and large, and hopefully not on Wednesday night, mate, Liverpool have, out of 90% of especially the away games, we've not really translated that really well. But it is down to the midfield, of course, integrating certain players into the starting 11 as well. Not being easy, but I've got really no excuses. Liverpool have just been, quite frankly, shocking in every aspect, really. The competitive nature that is very much what is seeing Liverpool challenge Manchester City in the league, come close on quite a couple of occasions and winning it. But even not replacing the fundamental players that have left. I mentioned with you over the last couple of years, Gini and Wijnaldum, the inability and the very much the quite frankly poor management from a transfer perspective. Really, you look at that Liverpool midfield, even as a neutral. It's apart from Thiago Alcantara when he is fully fit. It's a good day when he is, but it's hard and in between. Really, he's never 100% available.
That's interesting, though, because listening to you now, Jack, compared to a couple of years ago, you're talking a very similar mindset to the way the West Ham fans probably talk about, because you're talking about one of your a very important player in Thiago, how good a footballer he is, but when he's fit, and that's a rare occasion, isn't it? Because he is a top-notch footballer and he's a game changer, isn't he, as well?
Yeah, I'd even say I don't know how you feel, mate, as a neutral. When you look at Liverpool's, you look at the quality in terms of even Arsenal this season, Real Madrid, Manchester City, um, Liverpool. We've been absolutely battered in midfield. We've lost, as I said before, 90% of the bloody duels. The first game away from Fulham, we're getting outrun, and for a Liverpool team to get outrun, especially as a manager in Jurgen Klopp, that's a big ethos of his tactical game, really, as we know. But it's, yeah, we're getting overrun, outswamped, outbattled, even your lads on Wednesday night, and aerial bombardments. You probably watched the highlights against Forest. We were getting. We panic so much this season, even off a simple throw in, but obviously Forest have seen that in terms of Liverpool's weak armour, really. And you've got Van Dijk making, and don't get me started, I'll be going on for 24 hours about his poor performance this season.
Well, I do want to actually bring your defence up, because you said to me, as a neutral looking in, what do I notice? And I've got a family member who's a big Liverpool fan, and whenever I kind of keep a close eye on them, the biggest thing I've noticed is that the downgrade, or the lack of performances from the defenders. Now, I think last season or the season before, you had a lot of injury issues. You had a lot of inconsistencies in team selection in that, and back in the central defensive pairing as well. But this season, I've seen some really suspect defending, not just from Van Dijk, but from quite a few of your players. And static sometimes, not even moving, not even making an effort. And that's something that's unacceptable at any club, let alone in a home crowd at Anfield against some of the biggest rivals.
Yeah, our top six form is excellent, but sadly, the league is not full of the other six teams. We've got another 19 teams, but from a defensive point of view, that's why I mentioned the midfield. The pressing Liverpool over the recent seasons, when we've come to your grounds, we play with such a high line, but we've this season it's more or less half bothered, really. We're pressing in areas where we don't need to be pressing, and especially, as I mentioned, with the legs, we're getting outran by the majority of teams from the middle of the park. And Declan Rice, that'll be his plan, really, on Wednesday night. Just try and bypass one or two of those Liverpool midfielders, and you're practically in on Liverpool's back line. Trent, systematically, for the non-Liverpool watchers this season, in recent weeks, he's very much vacated that 6 role, similar we've seen with Zinchenko and, of course, John Stones at Manchester City. We transition into a 3, so Trent does play right back, has played right back for a large majority of the last couple of years. But as we all know with Trent, even neutrals, he's not, his best attribute as a player is his passing ability, his diagonal balls. He's probably the second best passer in behind Kevin De Bruyne in the league. So, Jurgen, it's something that Liverpool fans up and down the land have been crying out for. Play him in the 6 alongside, i.e. Fabinho, or hopefully another number 6 alongside him. But obviously, Andy Robinson does move in on Wednesday night. He will be moving to the left central back position. Virgil van Dijk and Ibu Konate down that right. And we've been crying out for it, mates. I've been crying out for all season. Just change something. Especially, mates, when you're watching your team and even the management's making the same mistakes after mistakes. Fair enough if you're picking results up. But Liverpool, it was, as I can't really put my finger on it. It is an accumulation, poor recruitment over the last 3-4 years in the midfield areas, high line, not having a capable structure defensively as well. So I always say you make your own luck as well, so it's difficult.
But I mean, you're a team that still can and are capable of scoring a lot of goals.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting is you do and have done play the high line, especially against West Ham in recent years, and you still are potentially looking at doing that. How do Liverpool cope with a team like West Ham, who like to give the opposition this season? Now, I'm talking about this season, not from the past, but we like to give the opposition most of the ball.
Yeah,
most of the possession. How are Liverpool dealing with a team like that? Is it better that a team does that, or is it better in terms of an opposition point of view that teams go at Liverpool? How would you see an opposition team going at Liverpool on their home turf?
just going for it, mate. And I know that's very weird considering where Liverpool and West Ham have come over the last 6-12 month period from a tactical sense. For me, it was, as I've said in previous seasons, if Trent's not playing right back, he obviously he's playing that new role. It's those transitions for West Ham on Wednesday night. You potentially need space down the wide areas, especially if Liverpool are going to go to that three back system. And obviously Henderson will be hopefully playing down that right in that midfield role. But the role that Trent does pick up, Hendo's more or less playing as a right back or an orthodox right midfielder as well. So he's done that in previous seasons better, but he's going to be vacating that role, mate. But it's those quick transitions in Liverpool that have really struggled. I mentioned the Fulham game at the beginning of the season, but that more or less was the roadmap, not just for Fulham, but for the majority of teams, especially Liverpool away from home.
Yeah.
Liverpool at home, a completely different animal. But away from home, and that white kit that you will be seeing Liverpool playing in this season, we haven't won on it. Away from home in the Premier League, it's a bit of hoodoo, or like it's if we do beat you, I'll be very surprised. But safe to say that kit for every Liverpool fan will be going in the bin after this season.
And what's interesting is, West Ham haven't had a great season, of course, and we've spoken about that beforehand and mentioned it a few times here now, but we've picked up a little bit of form recently, and we're getting a few connections, in particular in our midfield area where we've been lacking a lot this season. We found a little bit of a system. Paqueta and Declan Rice picked up a little bit of form together. It's not just them though. A player that's been in for a lot of criticism this season is Tommy Soucek, but he's kind of stepped up to the plate over the last couple of games. The inclusion of Paqueta and Declan Rice has meant that players like Ben Rama are getting a little bit more freedom and getting a nice little connection going on the left-hand side. And then obviously we all know what Jared Bowen is capable of doing on his day. Now, West Ham's biggest problem was that we had players who were in form last year who have not hit form at all this season at all. But it wasn't just one player. It was literally like 4 or 5 of the current team.
Similar with us, mate.
That have slightly picked up form over the last couple of weeks, which is good news for West Ham. But that doesn't. The biggest thing for us is it's back-to-back victories in the Premier League. What we usually do is we can beat a team, and then we need to back that up with the result, and we don't. But this is the first time that I felt a little bit more confidence in our footsteps this season because we done so well against Arsenal. Very unlucky not to walk away with 3 points. We then backed it up with a performance again in Europe, and then backed up with a smashing performance against probably one of the most informed teams in the league in Bournemouth, 4 wins out of the last 6. So it's going to make for an interesting game on Wednesday night. There's probably going to be an element of nervousness about it as well because Liverpool don't want to finish this season without some form of European football. Am I right? Or is that a wrong thing? Do you want Europa League? Do you want the Conference League?
I would have been a bit of a snob when we had Roy. Those dark days playing on Channel 5 or Motorford or whatever channels it was back then with the Aqualanis and the dark days under Roy. We've come a very long way, but I think the Europa League, the final is in Dublin. As you can understand, there'll be a lot of Liverpool fans in Dublin. The Irish Reds, that would be a party, but of course you've got to get it all the way. To next season.
The confidence is still there, though, Jack. The confidence is still there.
You can come and all the West Ham fans, you can come and have it. It would be one hell of a party anyway, as you probably anticipate. But yeah, for me, mate, a club of the stature of Liverpool and even West Ham, you deserve to be playing in Europe anyway. I think, of course, attracting players, you'd like to hope. Well, I'd say you'd like to hope Liverpool would attract any player in world football, but as the modern day player is, not just for Liverpool or West Ham or any players, you do look at, from a selfish point of view, any player that you are getting into, like you got Europe, unless you're Chelsea or other clubs in the league where you just whack an extra 200 grand on the wages, and then they'll be happy just to sit on the bench. Chelsea. But yeah, it's I'd like us to see it, mate, but as you said, 9 points off Newcastle. But what Liverpool have got to do, mate, going into Wednesday, we just got to keep on focusing on ourselves. If we can win all of our remaining games, we'll find out what happens. But I've said for weeks upon weeks anyway, I've got a load of Geordie mates. They're getting top 4, especially. But I know it's Tottenham, but everyone beats Tottenham anyway.
Yeah.
But we need to get at least Europa League or Conference League. I'm not one of these snobs that goes, so I'd like us to not finish out, because at the end of the day, we've come a long way, and I understand how that transition that we've made over the last 5-6 years under Jürgen. I remember the dark days of Roy and even good old Brendan Rodgers anyway.
A manager that has been linked to West Ham as of late.
Don't go near him.
No, I don't. I've got a lot of because I live in Scotland and friends that are Celtic fans, and they've said, listen, one of the biggest things I'll tell you about Brendan Rodgers is when he first comes to a club, he can do a job to get you from A to B, but when he gets to spend his own money is where he starts to cause the problems. And I'm like, wow. And then you start to look at all of his history and you think, okay, now I get it. Right, the previous fixture, West Ham again were probably quite unlucky not to walk away with something from the game at Anfield. Darwin Núñez got on the score sheet as well as Liverpool walked away with the 3 points. You've got a lot of money up top with your strikers, haven't you?
Yeah. Obviously, you mentioned Darwin Núñez, but the fella that I've loved the most really is Cody Gakpo, the young PSV captain. He's come in, 23 years old, Dutch international. He's Bobby's long-term replacement. Hence is the modern era of football, especially on Twitter. You write off players after 3 games because they're not getting goals or assists. But in terms of his eye test, and when you watch him anyway, as the majority of football fans do, when you analyse a player, he's absolutely exceptional. He brings so much to the game. Obviously, it's not his most natural position. Obviously in Holland and for PSV, he's predominantly played down that left-hand side, but he's a handful. He's good. He brings players so many players into the game. Good on the ball in terms of in front of goal. Even Jota, 30 games. I think he went 32, 33 games prior to his double-double in recent weeks without scoring Jota. Of course, injuries haven't helped him this season. But for a player of that ability, I'd expect a bit more from him when he is fully fit. But Darwin Núñez, he's an absolute firecracker. I was in the stadium at Palace beginning of the year. Everyone in the ground was like, has he been sent off? And then someone whips out your phone and you're like, oh, Darwin, what have you done? He's a box of frogs. You don't know what you're going to get with him, but he's a very talented player. I think he's only a couple of goals off breaking the record of obviously Didier Drogba's highest scoring record in the Premier League. So for the 23-year-old, it's just, as I said, integrating him into the team, predominantly at Benfica, who's playing in the double man 4-4-2 or formations that would give him a partner anyway. But he's been playing left wing through the middle. Very versatile, but I'm excited really to see how Jurgen Klopp long term does integrate him into the football club.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's get on to the nitty gritty, mate. Let's get down to predictions. Why not? Liverpool travelling to London Stadium midweek under the lights. Recently, the fans have, everyone talks about the 12th man, and I've never once doubted our fan base. Our fan base have always been there. We've had frustrating times this season. But as of late, you can't question our fan base. That it's been electric. The atmosphere has been electric.
You need it down there.
Yeah,
you need it down there, mate. And speaking from obviously, as I mentioned, with the home form, you do need that down there. Obviously, if you keep mentioning the teams down there in the bottom, but Goodison at the minute, as of late, is absolutely toxic. Even there, and hence what Goodison's previously done, but even that's why. I don't want to give you its bottom 3 predictions, but I think they'll be in trouble. In all honesty.
I can see that little smirk in your face there, Jack. I can see that little smirk. Right, let's go for it then. What's your predictions for the game?
High scoring game, mate. Both teams couldn't keep a clean sheet for the life of them this year. So I'm going to go 2-2. There's going to be goals in this. It's going to be a bit of a mad one, as it always is, usually. Yeah. With both of us. I'd like to say we'd keep a clean sheet, but we're away from home. We're against Hughes. He's a beat us in the past anyway. So, high scoring goal, a game, 2-2. So Bowen to get 2, and Jota and Salah to get 1.
If you are watching right now, give us your predictions as well. If you are new around here, please hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up if you're enjoying the content. And if you want to become a channel member, you can also click on the membership program. Go check out Jack's channel as well, Anfield Road TV. And yeah, give that a subscribe and go and watch his content as well. Jack, pleasure, mate. Pleasure as per usual. Good luck after the game on Wednesday, of course. That was what we always say. But it's been a pleasure having you back on, mate. And we'll get you back on hopefully next year when West Ham are hopefully still in the Premier League.
Yes, will be.
We'll win the Europa Conference League, and then we'll go to Europa League, and it'll be a West Ham Liverpool final in Dublin.
Yeah, it will be. I was going to say. Yeah, I don't actually think about that. But massive thank you for having me on, mate, and big up to all the Hammers. Good luck in Europe. I'll be watching with my fingers crossed anyway. But thank you for having me on as always, mate.
No worries, mate. Take it easy, and for everyone else watching, come on, you Irons.